Hello everyone, it's been a long time since I made a video last. Okay, I don't know why I'm talking in an English accent, but today's video is going to be a book review on a book I recently finished and I love, and it's called The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. Actually, one of my friends, one of my pen pals from California recommended this book to me, which is pretty interesting considering the content of the novel. And honestly, when I first heard the title, Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, I was kind of wary of it because it does sound kind of kitschy, and I've heard other readers of this book also felt the same. But at the same time, I was really drawn in because it's such an eccentric title, and it's pretty interesting. So I'm glad that that second impression is what won over the first one, because this was a great book and I love it so much. So you will hear why in this review. So this book is an epistolary novel, which means it is written through letters entirely. And I've never really read a book like that, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but I actually liked it a lot. But first of all, let me give you some background on the actual book. So it's set post-World War II, and it focuses around the life of the Channel Islanders during German occupation. Specifically Guernsey, and not many outsiders really knew about what it was like, what German occupation was like in Guernsey. I mean, it's like a really small island, nobody's really heard of it. So it does throw in historical detail about that, but mostly 7:30. It's 5:22. But mostly it's about the lives of this group of people who are in the titular Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. We have the main character, Juliet Ashton, who is a journalist living in London, and she is working under her publisher, Sydney Stark, who is also her longtime friend since childhood. And she's looking for a new story to write after she wrote a collection of humorous stories about World War II under the pseudonym Izzy Bickerstaff, and she's looking for something new to write. So one day she gets a letter from this stranger from Guernsey, whose name is Dawsey Adams, and he found her address in a book by Charles Lamb, which is how he found out about her, and he really liked Charles Lamb's book, and so he sends her a letter, and they begin communicating, they begin a correspondence, and she learns about Guernsey through him, and she learns about his little literary society, and she becomes really enraptured by the society, and she wants to know everything about them. So she begins sending letters to all of the members. Like, there's Isola Pribby, I love her. There is Eben, there's Eli, Amelia. One thing I really love about this book is that, you know, the epistolary style, because it's written like this through letters, you get to learn each character's personality through how they write. So for instance, we have Juliet, who's really witty and humorous, and then we have Isola, who's all zeal and exclamation points, and then there's even Adelaide Addison. I hate her. And she's all of these like formal, droning sentences, and she's very serious and stuff. And you can just tell through how they write, through their diction, through their word choice, and through their humor, which I thought was brilliant, and Marianne Schaffer does an excellent job at this. So yes, that was really one thing I loved about this book. They're all so quirky and intelligent, and I just fell in love with all of them. So yes, that was one thing I really enjoyed. And then another thing I really liked is how the authors, well, primarily Marianne Schaffer, mixed honest, serious historical detail while maintaining this really enjoyable narrative. You know, like I said, it was about German occupation, learning about the lives of these people of Guernsey during German occupation. So it discusses a lot about that, and in her acknowledgments, Marianne Schaffer specifically said, "I hope these characters and the story shed some light on the sufferings of the people of the Channel Islands during occupation. So she's not just, you know, just telling like a random story. Obviously, she's putting in some information, like there's stuff about concentration camps and involvement with the German soldiers and the things they did to the islanders while they were there, which are really quite cruel. And so it does have some seriousness, but it's also very entertaining, like I said, because of the characters and because of their passion for reading. And going into that, I think this book is an excellent book for people who love to read, because there are references to so many famous literary figures in history, like the Brontes. Isola loves Charlotte Bronte, and Juliet herself wrote a biography on Anne Bronte. And then there's obviously stuff about Charles Lamb and all these authors that the characters are reading. And so you will probably be able to relate, if you love reading, you can probably relate to each of these characters, which makes it so great. Yeah, it's a really good book. But I've gotta say that one thing I did not like, by the way, spoiler alert, click off this video if you don't want to know what happens at the end. So the ending of the book is basically Juliet telling us that she and Dawsey are getting married. Let me find the specific part. Yes, she's basically inviting Sydney to her wedding with Dawsey. And that's pretty much it. It's just talking about how she got married, and there's no reference at all. There's really not much reference to the stories of her friends, the ones she established a correspondence with, which I was really interested in, and it just ends on that note of, yes, we got married, come to our wedding. And that made me really happy. Like, I love Dawsey, and I love Juliet, and I love their relationship. But it kind of changed the entire context of the novel from this like historical telling of the stories of all these different people to a romance. And personally, I don't think that was a good choice, because the whole magic of the book was about these different lives and how she was so interested in them, and it just ends so abruptly. And I get that it's because Annie Barrows took over basically at the end, because Marianne Schaffer got sick, but I don't know, I think she could have done a better job with that ending. I'm not really a big fan of it. I love, like I said, I love them. I love how independently I love that ending, but as a whole, I don't think it fit into the work well, and yeah, I would have rewritten it in a different way. But overall, I think Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society was a really good book, and this was a pretty short review, but you can check out the full review on my book blog, which I will link down below. And yes, I definitely recommend it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars again because of the ending, but everything else I think was exquisitely crafted. I really think it was just fantastic, and I was in love with it. I loved every single character, especially Isola. Oh, I forgot to mention Mark. So I don't know why so many people hate Mark. Like, yes, he was really persistent and stuff, but he didn't really do anything wrong. He was just persistent. I love his messages. They're so flirtatious and witty, and honestly, this whole book is just so witty. I love it. I love it so much. So yes, if you are interested in books, if you like reading, if you're interested in World War II, if you want to learn about a little-known island through an entertaining narrative, then I 100% recommend to you the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, and I hope you enjoy it because I did.